Chapter 7, Point of View. I recently revisited my first nonfiction book, Your First 1,000 Copies, and rewrote it from the ground up for the second edition. With my experience, the rewrite should have been easy, but I kept having to start and restart the writing. I would draft a couple chapters, realize I was spinning off into directions I didn't want to go, and then have to back up and rework them. What's crazy is I already knew exactly what I was trying to say in the book. It was the same basic material from the first edition, which may be 20% added or updated based on what I had learned in the 7 years since it was first published. Plus, I had already written this book before. Why was it so hard? It came down to the point of view. In the past, when I thought of point of view, I thought strictly of first person, third person, free indirect, omniscient, etc. But there is much more to it than that. In fact, StoryGrid Publishing has a book by Leslie Watts titled Point of View, where she tackles this problem in depth. The flowchart she presents includes these questions. Why are you writing the story? What is the best vantage point from which to present it? What narrative device should you choose? What is the effect of the narrative device? Which point of view choice best creates this effect? In my rewrite of Your First 1,000 Copies, I wanted to share what I know about book marketing with the reader. When I thought of the vantage point, I realized this was the sticking point for me in a way I was writing the book. I kept trying to write it as if I was the guru on the mountain, doling out wisdom. But in reality, when I work with authors, it is always a collaborative process. Yes, I share my experience and expertise, but I do it in a partnership between the author and me. I decided my vantage point shouldn't be the guru on the mountain. Rather, I should come down and walk alongside the reader to have them discover how it works alongside me. When we understand the vantage point, we can think about the narrative device that best mimics this situation. We can ask questions like these, also from point of view. Who tells or shows the story? To whom? Where and when is the story being told or shown relative to the story events? In what form is the story being told or shown? Why? I wanted to tell the reader about two of my clients I had worked with and walk them from start to finish through their book marketing process. The ultimate effect of this narrative device was exactly what I was going for. It allowed the reader to walk alongside the characters of my book and learn with them. In my most recent novel, I picked third-person limited point of view. This allowed me to tell a story about my theme, more on that in the next chapter, from a vantage point where I could reveal what was happening in the story as if the reader were watching it with me. The narrative device is like an observer telling a story to the reader. That sounded pretty good to me, but I'll be honest with you, point of view is one of those subjects that continually evades my complete understanding. I often think I get it, but when it comes time to apply it to my writing, I quickly get lost. When in doubt, we go back to the masterworks of our global genre. We grab our well-worn copies of books that inspire us and look at how those authors solve the same problems we have. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone is written in third-person limited, with almost every scene presented from Harry's perspective. After the initial scene where Dumbledore drops Harry at the Dursleys, everything is seen from Harry's vantage point. When I started writing what would become my first published novel, The Threshing, I reread the first Harry Potter novel and decided to follow this example. It felt easier to write in third-person limited and to tell the story from one person's perspective. And if it works for J.K. Rowling, maybe it can work for me. Our point of view drives everything in the story. We need to pick it carefully. And when in doubt, we copy a writer we admire who told a similar story to the one we are telling.